the main ideas of a text and explain how they are supported by key details. Now, this should be somewhat review, right? What did we do last Friday when I was here? Just tell me a test of your names. Say your name when I come to you. Okay. What did we do last Friday?
We worked on main ideas.
Exactly. When we read the Native American text over the Plains tribes? Right. Okay, that's exactly what we're going to do today. And our objective is, students will identify 3 class levels of Mayan society and describe the duties and privileges of each. So today we're going to focus on the Maya. Who's ever heard of the Maya? Nod your head, yes, you have. Yes? Not many of you? No? Oh, wow. That's shocking. Okay, well, they're similar to the Aztec Empire, what you were reading the other days. They're an ancient civilization, and they inhabited the lands of Central America and some parts of Mexico. So I'm going to have you guys watch a video on brain pop that I found. You guys like brain pop? Mm-hmm. I'm going to have you watch this video. And it'll give you a little more background knowledge about the Maya.
And you want to turn the volume up.
Again.
Let's see. Sacred Temple, Jaguar Paw. Here we go. To whom it may concern, whosoever discovers this message will tell the tale of the great Maya culture, or be cursed with minor foot ailments. Take care now, the god of maize. I sure don't want any of that. Okay, here goes. The Maya were an ancient civilization located in the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico and parts of Guatemala, El Salvador, Belize, and Honduras. Yeah, people sometimes confuse them with the Aztecs, another Mesoamerican society. But the Maya came thousands of years before. Their first settlements are almost 4,000 years old. And unlike the Aztecs, the Maya weren't part of a centrally controlled empire. Their civilization was more of a loose collection of city-states, each with its own ruling family. At the peak of the civilization, between the 3rd and 10th centuries CE, Maya city-states, or polities, were major urban centers. Large polities like Copan, Tikal, Palenque, and Calakmul were dominated by massive step pyramids and huge palaces for the ruling families. Each city-state controlled surrounding farmlands and smaller towns, and it was always looking to expand its influence through military conquest. Neighboring cities were constantly at war with each other, and they didn't necessarily speak the same language. But still, we look at them as one civilization because they shared a common culture. Well, for one thing, the Maya were the only Native American society with a complete system of writing. In other words, one that could fully represent the spoken language. Maya script looks sort of like Egyptian hieroglyphics, but many of the symbols are phonetic, representing sounds instead of ideas. That means they can be combined to form spoken words, just like the letters in our alphabet. But instead of just 26 letters, the Maya had hundreds of phonetic symbols. Much of what we know about their culture comes from writing that was carved into stone and wood, painted on pottery, or even written in a kind of paper book called a codex. Some of the most spectacular Maya artifacts are stone columns called stelae, which depict images of rulers, along with family trees and stories of conquest. Well, they were a warlike culture, but that wasn't what they were all about. As in most ancient civilizations, religion was at the center of Mayan culture. In fact, the desire to understand the gods was the driving force behind their scientific and technological advances. Step pyramids were often topped with temples dedicated to the most important gods. These temples sometimes doubled as astronomical observatories. Without telescopes, the Maya made detailed charts of the stars in the night sky, which they considered a story of the gods' activities. That's right, many Mayan temples and pyramid complexes were constructed to align with certain constellations. What we call the Pleiades cluster was especially important. The Maya believed that their ancestors complex calendar systems that the Maya developed. You can check out our FYI feature for more on those. Oh, those are Mayan numbers. They use a base 20 system, meaning that there were 20 individual digits instead of 10. Each bar represents a 5, and each dot represents a 1. The shell represents a 0, making the Maya one of the earliest civilizations to use it. In some ways, they were more advanced than Europeans who conquered them. Well, since there was no central authority, the Maya civilization didn't fall suddenly like the Aztecs or the Inca. Instead, the Spanish slowly conquered individual city-states, one by one. By the end of the 17th century, the major centers of power had all fallen. But the Mayan people didn't go anywhere. They still occupy the same area of land they've lived in for thousands of years. Well, that's about all I know off the top of my head. Hope I've appeased the god of maize. Ah!
Was that kind of funny? Okay. So now we have a pretty good idea about the Maya. They're an ancient civilization before Columbus and all the other Europeans came over to conquer them. But like I said, we were going to focus on their social structure, and we'll read a little passage about them later on their social structure. But they had They had something called a pyramid of power. Now, the USA has a pyramid of power, and your school has a pyramid of power. Now, a pyramid of power is designed to keep order and structure in society. So there's always some people, the select few people at the top who have the most power, and they're the wealthiest, and they control everyone below them. And there's some people in the middle who still have a lot of power, and they're wealthy, but they don't have as much power as the people above them. And there's some people at the bottom who have little or no power at all, and they're usually very poor. Now, like I said, Bellefontaine Intermediate School has a pyramid of power. So I want you to discuss with your face partner, who do you think would be at the top of our pyramid of power for this school? Who has the most power? The principal.
The principals, the teachers.
Class. Yes. What do we come up with? Read it. Who do you think's at the top? Yes, the superintendent. They have a lot of power, right? Who else has a lot of power? Gracie? Yes, the principal. And you guys have two principals here, right? All right. So yeah, I would say the principals have a lot of power. And you said the superintendent. Who else should we come up with? Ariana?
Is the superintendent, well, not the superintendent, school board?
Yes, the school board. Agree. I agree with all of those. The principals and the school board and the superintendent. They make up the rules for the school, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they deal with pretty much everything. And they have a lot of power, right? Now, who do we think would be in the middle? There's more people in the middle, and they also have power. Xavier?
All the teachers.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, all the teachers. Because they have to listen to the principals and the superintendent and the school board, right? But they still have a little bit of power. Now, who's at the bottom of this pyramid? Jessica.
Us.
The students? Yes, the students are at the bottom. Do you guys have to listen to the teachers?
Yes.
Do you have to listen to the principals?
Yes.
Yes. So you guys have little or no power at all, right? You still have a voice, though, right? You sent that email to the principals, right? Are you guys going to do all the time now? Are the students?
No, our rules not all.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so the principals and the school board at the top with the most power, then the teachers, and then the students. Does everyone understand pyramid of power pretty much? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, I said the United States has a pyramid of power, right? Now, we have 3 branches of government in the U.S. Who knows what they are? Aaron? Yes, that's one. Ariana?
Executive.
Yes. And what's the last one? Kayla?
The Congress.
They are part of the legislative. There's one other branch of government. We have the executive and the legislative. Austin?
Judicial.
Judicial. Yes, judicial. So we have legislative, executive, and judicial. Now, does everyone know what this building is right here?
The White House.
Great, good. And who lives in the White House? The president. Who is the president's right-hand man?
Vice President.
Yes, the vice president. And they are part of the executive branch of government. Who knows what this branch or this building is? Hunter. It's a really big building in D.C. Huge. This would be the legislative branch.
Oh, yeah.
Starts with a C.
C.
Who is that? Congress is in there. They work there. What's the building called? Who wants to help them out? Maria. Yes, the Capitol building. It's the legislative branch. And Congress works there. Yes. Now Congress is divided into 2 parts. Do we know what they are? Braden. No, they're the legislative branch, but they're divided into 2 parts, Micah. Yes, one part is the Senate, and the other part is the
Representatives?
yeah, the House. Yep, the House and the Senate, which have representatives. So they are the legislative branch, and they make the laws. That's their job. Right? There's one other building up here. This is a little harder one. No, not the Lincoln. Aaron?
The Washington Monument?
Nope. Austin?
The Pentagon?
Nope. This is the Supreme Court building. This is the judicial branch of the government. So the Supreme Court's in there, and then they have other federal courts below them. And their job is to evaluate the laws. So these 3 branches of government are at the top of the pyramid of power for the United States. I make a circle and tap it.
Yeah, tap in the middle.
Okay, so we have our government, the 3 branches at the top for the USA, pyramid of power. Now at the middle is the Electoral College. Have you guys heard of the Electoral College? No? Okay. It's a group of very important people who make up the deciding vote of who's going to run our country, of who's at the top. Now who do we think would be at the bottom of our pyramid of power for the U.S.? Ariana?
Citizens?
Yes, the citizens. Because we vote, right? We're allowed to vote on who's going to run our country. But the Electoral College has the deciding vote, so they have a lot of power. And then our government has the most power. Okay? So I said that the Mayan civilization has a pyramid of power also. So we are going to read a passage that I found about the Mayan social class. Does anyone have any questions about pyramid of power? No? Okay. Can you pass that down? There's 7 of you. 7. I think we're going to do a popcorn read. Do this. Does everyone know what a popcorn read is? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. We're going to learn about it as we're going to read about it. So we're all going to start together. Yeah. You need another one? One more?
Oh, never mind.
Good? One more?
Yeah.
Finally?
predicted that the world was gonna end.
The Mayan calendar.
Yeah.
Have you all heard of the Mayan calendar? Yep, they're an ancient civilization that made up that calendar. They were a very aggressive society. They were. But that was the only way they knew how to live back then. Right? Alright, so we're going to read this together. And then I'll call on some people to read one paragraph at a time. So everyone's going to pay attention, right? Alright, so let's begin. Much like other civilizations of the ancient world,
the Mayans depended on their social classes to keep order and structure within their society. The people at the bottom of the Mayan social ladder were the farmers and slaves. These two groups made up the base of the power pyramid in the Mayans. Those people in Mayan civilizations were farmers, but their rights in society were not much better than those of slaves. Slaves were usually captured enemies or criminals from within the Mayan system.
Alright, pause there. There's two words in here I want to make sure you guys understand. First is base. So it's in the second sentence at the beginning. It says these two groups made up the base of the power pyramid. Now base just means bottom. They're at the bottom. Okay? There's another word in here, citizenry. It's the last word. Citizenry is just kind of a fancy name for a body of citizens. So all the Mayan society, they were all the citizens. Okay? Gracie, will you read the next paragraph, please?
The farmers and slaves performed most of the hard labor, and of course, the farmers provided the entire society with its most important resource. They likely made up a bulk of the Mayan military as well.
Alright. Thank you very much. So balk is another word I want you guys to make sure you understand. They likely made up the bulk of the Mayan military. What does a balk mean? Like the majority, the most? Yeah, they made up most of the Mayan military. Okay, let's all read the next paragraph. The middle
Class within Mayan society was made of professionals, bureaucrats, government workers, artists, and merchants. They had considerably more wealth than the lower classes, and they were to be respected by the farmers and slaves as well. The middle class also served an important function in Mayan society. They provided a source of goods and services other than food and labor that could be exchanged and traded. They were also expected to supply some amount of free labor to the upper class, and they tended to make up the middle ranks of the Mayan military.
Alright, let's pause there. Now everyone find the word bureaucrats. You had a little trouble pronouncing that in the first sentence. Put your finger on it, please. And you see right beside it, it says government workers in parentheses. Now government workers is describing bureaucrats. So in the Mayan society, bureaucrats were government workers. And that's very important to pay attention to. Because if you would just skip over that, would any of you know what bureaucrats were? So it's very important to read that. So the middle class was made up of professionals, bureaucrats, artisans, and merchants. Who knows what an artisan is? Anyone? Anyone want to take a guess? Samantha? Did you want to put your name on there? Yeah. It was someone who was good at a skilled trade. So they were good with making stuff with their hands. Like craftsmen, they either made maybe tools or pottery or maybe fabric, a dress or something, clothes that they wore. And merchants. Anyone know what merchants are? Xavier.
People that sell stuff to other people.
Exactly. They dealt with trade. They would trade things from one person to another.
Alright.
Isabella, do you want to read the next paragraph, please?
Sure. The smallest and most wealthiest and powerful layer of Mayan social structure was ruling noble
flanked. That's kind of a funny word. It says he was flanked by his priests and nobles. It just means the king was surrounded by his priests and nobles at all times. Then we have nobility was hereditary in Mayan society, which means that you were born into the noble class. So you were very, very lucky if you were born into the noble class. Okay, let's read the last paragraph together. This
Structure worked because the lower and middle classes believed that the upper class had been granted the right to rule by the gods. In fact, they probably believed that the nobles were somehow descended from the gods.
Okay, so we have a pretty good idea about the Mayan social classes, right? They had a pyramid of power, right? Who was at their top of the pyramid of power? Justin?
Kings and royal.
Yes, because they had the most power and they were very wealthy, right? Who was in the middle? Aaron. Nope, the priests and the nobles were at the top with the king. They had a lot of power. Yep. Everyone in that class was at the in the middle because they still had a lot of wealth, right? They just have to support society, and they still had power, but they didn't have as much power as the kings and priests and nobles. So who was in the last? Brayden. The slaves and the farmers, because they had really hard jobs, but they didn't get paid very well. So they were at the bottom. All right. So does everyone understand the Mayan social class? Have a pretty good idea? Okay. So now I have paper that I would like you all to fill out. It looks just like the one up here. And I want you to say who is in each class, each level, and I want you to describe the duties and privileges of each in complete sentences. And you can also use your artistic abilities and draw some pictures for me, maybe where they worked, what they did. So in a minute,
Not yet.
I will hand this paper out, and you can begin once you have it. But I also have some books that I found that have pictures of Mayan palaces and temples. These are better. I'll pass these around so y'all can get a better look. See the bottom? See how big that is? Who do we think lived in the palaces? Brayden? Brayden? Who do you think lived in the palaces?
The kings and the priests.
Yes. And now there's also, I found a picture of a really shabby looking house. Does that look very nice? Would you want to live there? Who lived there?
The slaves.
Yes, the slaves and the farmers. Because they didn't have a lot of money. So you can pass those around and you can look at them. And once you get your paper over the pyramid, you can begin. Just put your name and date on it. And where it says title, you don't have to put anything. Does anyone have any questions? No? I have the book. You can, and if there's not enough green, you can draw on the outside. Yeah.
Who paid the kings?
Who paid the king?
Slaves.
Yeah, the society. What they did, they gave them food, and the artisans and merchants would give them the pottery that they made or the tools and the clothing. That's how they had all that money. Yeah.
So in the pyramid, do we write the names and then out what they did, or do we just write what they did?
You write the names of each class, who was in each class, and their duties and privileges in complete sentences, like one or two. Okay? And you can refer back to your text that I gave you. That's there for you to use. Oh, a stone, I think. Stone of the sculpture aspect. sure everyone's seen Midtem. Yeah, you can underline, do whatever you can. Yep. Anything that helps you out.
Highlight and doesn't matter. This must be only that. This one must be
What did they do? For their jobs? And what did they do? What was good for them?
Oh, yeah? Which page? Sculpture. Yep, they would have made all of that. Mm-hmm.